noticed something that both parties do about the presidential electoral races, right? I want to show you something, right? You see this? This is from Polling USA. They posted this February 4th. Democratic presidential polling, Kamala Harris at 34%, Gavin Newsom 20%, Shapiro 10%, Buttigieg 10%, AOC 7%, Cory Booker 6%, and I think that's Westmore 3%. Democratic presidential polling. And I noticed something. And this is connected to what Hasan Piker just said in this interview that everybody's coming after him for. Both of these parties, they tell you who your candidate should be instead of you choosing who you want your candidate to be. And one of the ways that they do that are polls like this. They put these names on a poll and they ask you a question. Who would you vote for president 2028? Now, these are the names that you see. You may not have been thinking about any of these people, but they're basically programming your mind to tell you these are going to be your choices. Who do you want to be president? And this is how we get out of this mindset of coming together as a community and saying, hey, who do we want to be president of the United States? They program you to pick the people that they picked. And that's not just the Democratic Party. The Republican Party does it too. What I'm saying is the establishment selects the candidates for you. And this is something that we have to get away from. Now, I bring this up because Hasan Piker just said recently during this interview with Jennifer Welch from I Have Had It podcast. And all Hasan Piker said was, if the candidates are da-da-da, I would probably vote third party. And a lot of people are giving him shit about it. Let's go ahead and bring it in.
For him.
Disappointed in
Who
Gavin
do you vote
Newsom.
for, J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom?
Well, I'd have to vote for Gavin Newsom,
Me
of course,
too.
100%.
I wouldn't blink.
There's no
What
doubt.
about you, Hasan?
I'd probably vote third party.
You would?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, it doesn't even matter. Like, because my policy on this is the same as like my refusal to endorse Kamala Harris. The reason why I did not endorse Kamala Harris was because she did things that were not only unproductive, but also unconscionable. And I still stand on that. I still talk about it all the time because people constantly bring it up. They're like, you didn't sufficiently like promote Kamala Harris. You're the reason why she lost. And I'm like, I am incapable. There is no singular force in this country that is capable of making or breaking an election. And if that was real, then it is the most idiotic thing not to listen to my demands. But everybody knows that that's not real, right? Mm-hmm. If I had this singular force to be able to make Kamala Harris the president, then Kamala Harris should be coming to me every day and being like, let me do a collab with you, please.
Totally.
Right?
Right. This is what I want to add here. When I get outside of this YouTube political space and I'm just kicking it with the homies, they don't know who any of these people are. And you guys probably know this too, like from your friends and family that you talk to. Like, my friends are not into politics the way that I am. So like, they don't know who any of these people are. If I'm like, yeah, I'm interviewing this person, that they don't know who these people are. They don't know who Hasan Piker is. They only know who I am because they knew me before this. They don't know what TYT is. They don't know what any of this stuff is. And so this idea that people said it's all Hasan Piker's fault that Kamala didn't win, it's ridiculous. A lot of people are not even paying attention until right before it's time to vote. That's just the reality. 2, let's not forget that there were demands that were made, right? Demands like, say you will withhold weapons from Israel, call for a ceasefire. There were demands that were made. And Trump kind of snuck in on this and told people in Michigan that he was going to stop it. He was going to end it all. Yeah, he lied. But he said what people wanted to hear. And that's why some people in Michigan, instead of voting for Kamala, took their chances and voted for Donald Trump. But the reality is what Hasan Piker said here, considering the fact that I think he lives, don't he live in California? Okay, so California is a blue state. And it seems like all these people who are attacking him online saying, oh my God, he said he's going to vote third party if it's Gavin Newsom. To me, you should not be attacking him. You should be attacking Gavin Newsom for not being a strong enough candidate. Because this is the thing. Gavin Newsom, in my opinion, based on what I've seen and what I've read and the way that he has governed, Gavin Newsom is basically a conservative. He's a conservative with a D in front of it. It's just the reality. So if you support the populist policies, Gavin Newsom is not that guy, right? You know this. The problem that we run into a lot of times is that if you do support those populist ideas, if you are anti-war, both parties support the war machine. Both parties don't really have an agenda for the working class. They still refuse to say that this is one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders campaigns were so popular at that time. They had to come in and do tricks to get him out of there because he had an agenda for the working people. Now, Hasan Piker in 2024, he was laughing at the third party thing. He said he didn't want to vote for Jill Stein. He was laughing at us. People like me, Bree, the rest of my comrades at RBN, all of us that said, okay, we're going to vote for Jill Stein. We're going to vote third party. We were laughed at. We were, called names. Some people I know personally got death threats. And now I'm seeing Hasan Piker is getting that same energy in return, even though he lives in a state that's not a swing state. Another thing I think that people need to learn to understand is how elections actually work. The Electoral College determines who the president is going to be. It basically comes down to a handful of swing states. So I was very shocked that people were yelling at Hasan, who's in California. Why are you yelling at him? California isn't a swing state. What I have learned from doing political YouTube is that just like you have MAGA, you also have Blue MAGA. You have people that can be just as vicious on the Democrat side that will shame you and threaten you for not supporting their person. Let's continue on here.
That's not the case, of course, and they know it. That's why they didn't do it. But the campaigns are always responsible for whether or not they are able to win the crowds, win the population over, and combat against the couch. Not necessarily even against the Republican Party, but usually you're fighting against the couch, people who just don't go out and vote. And for me, the way I see it is if the Democratic establishment makes this decision one more time, just as they did with Hillary Clinton, just as they did with Kamala Harris, and in some ways, just as they did with Joe Biden as well, which led to Trump too, then they just don't care. And there's not much I can do.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. I agree with everything you say, but as a person who lived in a red state for 50 years, I would crawl through 10 feet of concrete to vote for Gavin Newsom, even though I think he's duplicitous, a hypocrite, a thirst trap, hungry for power, all of the things that you say, and harms the Democratic Party and sets the psychological soil to be more prey to fascism. All of that I agree with. But there are so many young, queer, Black, brown, marginalized people in red states. And even though this corporate Democrat is, you see it in a long-term game. In the short-term game, a President Newsom over a President J.D. Vance.
So I'll show you another part where she responds to this, but she mentions the people who are marginalized. And I point back to the Democratic Party. What has the Democratic Party done for these marginalized groups of people that actually transform and make things better for their lives? I've been talking about this for years, how the Democratic Party, they come and they knock on your door. They want the Black vote, but then if you start asking them to do stuff, it's like, we can't do all that. Like, we're not going that far. We're not ready for that conversation. When those civil rights leaders met with Joe Biden, I remember him telling him, now's not the time. But you didn't say now wasn't the time when you asked for their vote, right? So more and more people are starting to see this, and more people stayed home last time than before. So people started to attack him. Here come the attacks. If you can't see the difference between J.D. Vance and Gavin Newsom and the difference in the people hurt by one versus the other, then I can't help you. That's someone named Tara Hoops. What he said here was bend the knee to the left then. You already did with Zoran. The midterms just started and y'all are crying about the general. Do you want free healthcare? Do you want free college? Do you want to stop Israel? I'll vote for anyone who sincerely believes in making that happen. Well, see, this is what we said in 2024. This is what people like me and Bree and Katie Halper too. This is what we said. We're voting for the people that have the policies that we want. And people just gave us all types of shit. It's wild and crazy. Bree's in DC. That's not a swing district. I'm in Massachusetts. This isn't a swing state. And Katie's in New York. It was crazy how people, the bah, 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 bah. It was just wild to me. But we were voting for the people that had the policies that we want. And the Democratic Party will do anything that they can to stop actually moving towards a populist agenda and an anti-war agenda. They would rather have, and I said it years ago, they would rather have Donald Trump win than have someone who has that anti-war agenda, who's against the military-industrial complex, who has a populist agenda, actually win. You know why? Because their donors don't want it. That's why. We go on to more here, just to remind you, everybody keeps saying Gavin Newsom. Let's all remember it was just not too long ago, Gavin Newsom proclaimed Ronald Reagan Day. He was praising Ronald Reagan, and although Ronald Reagan's such a great guy, that was Gavin Newsom just recently. It was Gavin Newsom who sat on a podcast with Ben Shapiro and basically let Ben Shapiro just walk right all over him. It was Gavin Newsom who is more comfortable being in those spaces because, like I said, he's basically a conservative with this D in front of it. But they're telling you who your candidate should be. And that's what I want people to pay attention to. This little game that they're playing here. Why do you guys think they put these names on a poll and they tell you who would you like to have? They're trying to program your mind to tell you you need to pick from one of these people and don't you dare think outside this box. What I'm telling you is we need to pick our own people. And that's how it should be. And people shouldn't shame you for doing that. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. You need to be picking your own damn people. Anytime the establishment is telling you who that person should be, that means that person is not going to serve the working class. People need to pay very close attention to that. He went on to say here, I never said JD Vance is better than Newsom. You want to believe I said that because you can't comprehend a world where democracy implies asking for concessions from your elected representatives before doing loyalty pledges to them like a happy serf. Isn't that what some of us said in 2024? Isn't that what the pro-Palestinian activists said to Kamala Harris in 2024? These are our demands. People are starting to see this more now. And Jennifer did respond to this clip, and I want you to see what she said.
Usurp the chef. This is intellectually dishonest completely from top to bottom. Gavin Newsom has proven that he doesn't care about trans people. Gavin Newsom has proven that he doesn't care about the illegal nature of what ICE is doing when he platformed Ben Shapiro. And so to put the burden of this on Hasan, who's saying, I'm not going to settle for a fascist collaborator who always is reaching to platform fascists and to find common ground with them. It's just intellectually dishonest because Hasan has a record of standing up for trans people. And when Gavin Newsom did that with Charlie Kirk, that pain was felt through the trans community far and wide. And Pete Buttigieg did the same. And Rahm Emanuel came on my podcast and did the same. And so to say that Hasan doesn't care about marginalized groups is completely disingenuous because what he's saying is, I'm not buying the lie that Gavin Newsom does.
So let me add this part in here, right? So they always come with this. Oh, that means you don't care about the marginalized people. You don't care about this, da, 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 da. All those people that Jennifer just named are corporate They're a part of this bubble that I'm not a part of. I think a lot of you are not a part of that bubble. Like, these people look out for themselves and their careers. They're not care. You know, you want to talk about marginalized groups? What happened in California when people tried to pass the reparations bill in California? What happened? Who stopped that? Gavin Newsom. No. I want your vote, but no. We're not going that far. No. Pete Buttigieg is just a McKinsey plant. He is. That's who these people are. They're very corporate. Let's go on a little bit more.
Not buying that anymore, because each time I do, or each time we do, it incubates a more and more fascist culture. Here's the part of the video that they cut out that I think provides incredible context for the remainder of our conversation. Pop this up, Kylie. Enthusiastically crawl through 10 feet of concrete for all of the marginalized people.
Do you feel like the Democrats know that, and that's why they get away with their ineptitude?
100%.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So 100%. I'm like,
okay, pause right there.
I don't even.
So Hasan.
So yeah, they do know that. The Democrats know that. They know that Trump is not going to be great for marginalized groups of people. So they're like, let him just burn it all down, and then people will run back over to us. Yes, they do know that. They are very much aware of that. But then they don't do anything either. They don't do anything either. You know, for some of you, they may try to say, okay, you know, Obama did something for the Dreamers. But like I said, I'm Black, and the Black community, they ain't really trying to do nothing for us. Nothing at all. At all. It doesn't matter if you have a Black president or not. They ain't really trying to do nothing for us. We are at the bottom of the list. And it's been that way as long as I can remember. So what's that really about? But when they want to point their fingers at you, when you don't come out in droves and vote for them and support them. And I got to tell you, talking to other comrades, like, people are getting tired of it. They're tired. I thought Blakely said something really interesting here when she's talking about people like melting down.
JD Vance or Gavin Newsom?
Well, I'd have to vote for Gavin Newsom.
Me too.
100%.
I wouldn't blink. What about you, Hasan?
I'd probably vote third party.
You would?
Oh yeah. I mean, at that point, it doesn't even matter.
So that video is currently going viral right now because Blue MAGA libs are melting down on Twitter that he said that he would vote third party if it were between Gavin Newsom and JD Vance. Now, before I go the fuck off on Democrats and liberals, let me just say I'm not talking about any of the people in this video. I don't even know who that guy is. And I actually love Jennifer Welch. And one of the reasons why I love Jennifer Welch is because in media, she's one of the few liberals who actually is willing to call out the Democratic establishment. So while I don't agree with her in this exchange, I agree with Hasan. She is not the kind of person I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people like Welch who actually will challenge the Democrats to their face. I'm talking about Blue MAGA bootlickers like Hutch and his ridiculous commentary on this video. And the thing I love so much about what loser bootlickers Blue MAGA are is that they never ask or demand anything of the actual people in power. They can scream at a streamer all day and say, oh my gosh, you're helping Trump. How could you say that? But when it comes to actually demanding anything of their politicians, they don't. And this is why they don't feel they need to do anything for you. This is literally why none of them are even bothering to tell you that they're running on anything for the midterms. They're not promising shit. They're not saying they're going to abolish. They're not saying they're going to stop funding the Israeli regime. No, they're not saying any of that. They know that they don't have to give you anything. They can just say Trump bad, Republican bad, and you will kiss their feet and say, please, sir, may I have another? To unconditionally already pledge your vote for 2028, especially when we're talking about Gavin Newsom. Fuck Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is trash. Gavin Newsom is, don't make me do it again. I've already got multiple videos talking about Gavin Newsom and what fucking trash he is and what a horrible president he would be and his record and how full of shit he is, okay? Don't make me get into that right now, but they're there. There's many of receipts. You want me to make a 2-fucking-hour video on it? Putting aside Gavin Newsom and the fact that he is a snake oil salesman of the highest order, Blue MAGA seems to not understand that by refusing to demand anything of your politicians, you are empowering fascists. Republicans are only able to do the damage that they are doing because Democrats refuse to fight when they had power. Not to mention how they empower Republicans, even when Republicans are wrecking the country like they're doing right now with ICE. The country has already fallen too far into authoritarianism to think that you're just going to elect some enlightened technocratic centrist, make a couple tweaks here and there like Biden did, and that everything is going to be okay. No, there is no going back to normal. And unless there is a radical shift in the way that we deal with politics, then electing a corrupt snake like Gavin Newsom in 2028 is only going to give the Republicans time to rebuild. Every time you elect a centrist corporate Democrat who doesn't deliver, you make people lose more faith in the idea that anything could get better or change. And then they just opt out altogether. What on net, when you look at Biden's presidency, did he do to get back to normal and protect democracy? We voted for Biden in 2020 just to get away from Trump and to get back to normal. And it is because back to normal Biden didn't hold Trump accountable, oversaw genocide on his term, and didn't deliver some of his key promises like voting rights. Those things were all major contributors as to why Kamala Harris lost in 2024. So we're just going to rinse, repeat, do this same pattern again in 2028 on a system that continues to get degraded election cycle after cycle. All the Blue MAGA bootlickers that are attacking Hasan right now on Twitter, you're literally always wrong. Maybe you should try shutting the fuck up and actually listening to the left for a change. If the left had listened to Blue MAGA in New York City, we would have corrupt Zionist sex pest Andrew Cuomo as mayor right now. You kept telling us that we needed to settle for the corrupt Zionist sex pest because it was unrealistic for Zohar Mamdani to win. And had we listened to you, that's where we would be right now. The reason why we are where we are right now is because you Blue MAGA motherfuckers have consistently tried to shove centrist, corporate, fascist light, Republican adjacent candidates down the throats of the American people. And people who are on the left or independents who are liberal aren't fucking interested in voting for Republican light. The actual nerve of the Blue MAGA libs thinking that they are in any position to be lecturing the left when you motherfuckers lost to Trump twice. You put up Hillary Clinton, you put up Kamala Harris, and they both fucking lost to Trump. You should shut the fuck up forever. Maybe if you actually listen to people like Hasan and people on the left who say things like, we need to demand something for our vote, we need to expect better. If you actually give people something to vote for, they will come out just like they did for Zohran, proving that fact. Why don't you shut the fuck up and actually listen since you have a track record of fucking losing?
You know, what else can I say? What else can I say? You know, I think it's spot on what Blakely said here, because the reality is the Democratic Party comes in to stop anything from moving towards that populist, message, populist policies. They stop that. And then what happens in turn is that the wheel turns further and further to the right. And I think the best example of this, and I pointed this out many times, was Barack Obama's presidency, right? Like Barack Obama ran on this, I'd say, light populism at that point in time. He talked about ending the wars in the Middle East. He talked about healthcare for everybody. And he said, we need a change. It's time for something that's different. And that message resonated with a lot of us. It resonated with me, especially. I was so excited to vote for Barack Obama. Problem is, when Barack Obama became president, those things did not come to light, right? Like the best we got was Obamacare, and that has its own issues. So obviously everybody did not get health care as he had promised. But the reality, and the wars did not stop. The bombs kept flowing, killing people in Libya and on and on and on. And then ideally what happened is people shifted further to the right. And that's how Donald Trump won. Now, we had the pandemic under Trump's presidency that caused economic issues. So what happened? People shifted back in the other direction. So that's how Biden wins. And then, of course, under Biden, the genocide, still economic issues. You guys seeing a trend with economic issues still being a problem, right? With each of these presidencies. And so people shifted further to the right, back to Donald Trump. So the Democratic Party basically does this ratchet effect where they put this ratchet into the wheel to stop it from moving to the actual left, because the Democratic Party is not actually left. So the reality is here, when you put all the cards on the table, which is what these polls are stopping you from doing, when you see those polls asking you who you want to be president, I would say disregard it, because the reality is they're trying to get that information from you so they know who to pump up. But what they should do is ask you, who do you think should be president, and not give you a list of names. That should be a write-in option. But they don't want us to think for ourselves. They want to tell us who the candidate is going to be, and they want us to pick those from that list of people. They are limiting us in our choices, and we've been falling for it for quite some time. So when we put the cards on the table, you get to see this for what this really is. And I think that, Hasan saying, if it's this person, I might vote third party or whatever, especially considering he's not even in a swing state. I don't see what the big fucking deal is. People need to get out of their cults. They need to get out of these circles and talk to other people outside of that for once in your life. And some of us had no choice but to do that. Some of us, grew up in certain ways that we had to talk to people that we may have not agreed with, or we may have totally disagreed with politically. But the reality is they're telling you who the person should be. And that's what I want everyone to pay attention to. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.